Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Veriswap podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Bryan Denison, otherwise known as Cajun Cardboard on Instagram. How's it going, Bryan?
Fantastic, man. Happy to be with you. I'm glad our time zones could match up and we can get this pod in, man.
Yeah. You want to tell everyone the story of how we met?
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's pretty funny. We're both staying in the Claridge, dodging roaches and trying to get up and down the elevator safely. And we were both on our way to the card ladder collectible VIP party. And I think you popped in the elevator kind of on my way down to take a walk on that boardwalk down the road to the Hard Rock. And you bumped into me and I just started making chit chat. And then you recognized me, and then you told me your name, and I was like, "Man, you're the Facebook NBA hotspot guy." And I recognized your name, and then we just chatted, and we ended up walking that quarter mile and walked over to the party together.
Yep, that was a crazy night. Yeah, it was literally like we were I think it was me, you, and another person in the elevator. We were like, "Oh, we're heading to the same place, collectible card show." Yep. And then I was like, "Oh, why don't you come on hop on the podcast sometimes?" And here you are. How was the show for you?
I loved it. Man, look, I heard a lot of people complain about Atlantic City, but I'll be honest with you. I was there for the convention center. I mean, all I cared about is I had a bed to sleep in. It was easy to get back and forth from my hotel to the convention center. And then, everything in the convention center, as far as I'm concerned, was fine. My Wi-Fi, I didn't use it. I just used my cellular stuff. And it was actually pretty good for me. I know a lot of people had a lot of problems. But the show was great for me, man. And again, I have no frame of reference. That was my first national, so I'd never been. And so, I don't have any other national to compare it to. Next year after Chicago, I'll be able to compare the two. But for what my intended purposes were, meeting guys like you and kind of, spreading my brand and getting to shake hands with all the people that I've come to become friends with over the last 4 years. And I picked up some cool cards along the way. It was a really good show for me. I enjoyed it. I was only there for, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I had to fly out early Saturday. But I loved it, man. I loved it. How about you?
I had a great experience. I mean, similar to you, like I didn't really have a lot of high expectations for Atlantic City at first. But, things quickly changed when I had gotten to the show. We were kind of on the show floor for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, and that was the cards were there, the people were there. It was a lot of fun. Didn't really spend too much time outside of the show floor. But yeah, I guess this year I went with the intent of basically getting the word out there for Veriswap instead of going to buy and sell cards and kind of having that more focused goal. At least for me, it was a lot made the whole experience a lot less distracting and a lot more targeted. I think overall what I got from the show was also state of the hobby is still very, very healthy. I think you're in the Facebook groups, I'm in the Facebook groups. There's always people kind of talking about prices could be a little bit higher. The market could be healthier. But I think seeing how people were still so passionate about the hobby and still so eager, even if prices were down. I think that was a very strong sign and kind of reminded me of why I love the hobby as well, right? People at the end of the day, they leave everything at the door. They kind of have a true passion about cards, and it's just time to chill, relax, stay up until 3 a.m. talking about cards. What was something you didn't expect at the National, Bryan?
What did I not expect at the National? Well, I did not expect it would be that hard to walk around. Not as in get around because it was crowded, but just to stay on my feet that long. It really bothered me. I'm an old man, okay? So I'm 48 years old, and I'm telling you, that first Wednesday knocked me down. I got in a little bit early. I got in at maybe 1 o'clock. My friend Josh Adams got me a dealer pass. So I got in about 1 o'clock, and I had the run of the floor for a couple hours before it opened to the public. And I think I probably stayed there, Raymond, until about 7. What time we go to that party? Yeah, I probably stayed there about 6 hours. I probably stayed there right at 6 hours on Wednesday, and I was shot. My back was killing me. I did not want to walk on that boardwalk with you to that party. I wanted to get an Uber, and you made me walk. So
I made him walk, go through the pain.
You saved me about $11 making me walk. But man, my back and my legs were a little bit sore. It's concrete, and you're doing a lot of standing and a lot of walking. No stretching, no bending, no running, so no sitting. Really, I wasn't sitting at all. But I learned my lesson. I sat down a few times on Thursday and Friday just to kind of rest and take little breaks. But that was what really struck me, is that's a lot of time on your feet. And while I would have liked to have stayed for Saturday and Sunday, I pretty much accomplished everything I needed to do on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. I was pretty efficient. Now there's probably about 7 or 8 people that I didn't get to meet that I really wish I had gotten a chance to. And I reached out to them after the show, and our schedules just didn't match up. We just didn't run into each other, or they were there on the weekends and I was there during the week. But other than that, man, I accomplished what I needed in a pretty efficient 3 days.
Yeah, that's good to hear that you're able to kind of check off a lot of the things that you had initially wanted to accomplish. I don't think I'd say the same. I had a list of people I wanted to meet, things I want to talk about, but then when it came to Sunday, I was like, oh shoot, only 30% of this is done. But it was still a good time though.
Yeah.
So you're walking around the show floor, kind of like, were you mainly like looking to buy stuff, sell stuff, or just kind of like meet people? Like how did that go?
Well, I'm a pretty efficient person, so I had a little bit of a game plan, kind of a rudimentary, kind of a general game plan. So I wanted to, I went to the National. I'd spent a bunch of money on the PWCC weekly auctions leading into it. There was a couple Jordan cards that came up. So all the money that I had kind of set aside for the National, I sort of blew that the week before. It was just a great opportunity, and I picked up 3 really big cards for myself. So I went into the National kind of lean as far as having cash on hand. But I did bring 3 cards to trade. I brought a 86 Fleer Jordan BGS 9. I brought a 2012 Gold Magic Johnson. And I brought a 1980 Topps Magic Bird PSA 7. So 3 pretty easy cards to trade. I was looking to get out of those 3 cards and kind of turn those cards into cards I didn't have that I wanted to add to my Jordan, my LeBron, and my Giannis PC. And I just started collecting Damian Lillard recently. And so those 4 guys were really who I was looking for: LeBron, Jordan, Giannis, and Dame. And I had great success. I moved the 86 Fleer Jordan BGS 9 right away in a trade for a big Giannis rookie card. And then I moved the Bird Magic for a really off the radar, nice Jordan insert, the 1998 Stadium Club Royal Court card, really low pop card in PSA 10. And then I picked up some other Dame Lillard cards. All in all, I had a pretty good show. And I bought a card on the plane ride up there, and I bought a card in the airport in Philadelphia on the way back. So it was all around. It was a really good show, man. I didn't spend a ton of money, but like we mentioned, I got to meet you. I got to meet Christina, Josh from Card Ladder. I got to meet Dave Owens from Riverfront Collectibles. I got to meet Nat Turner. I got to meet all my friends at PWCC. Hell, I got to meet, the guy that I host a podcast with. I've never met him in person. I've never met anybody in person. I'm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, man. Nobody comes through Baton Rouge. So if I don't get out, I won't meet anybody. So it was really great to get out and meet all these guys.
Yeah, it's awesome that you got to meet all of these guys, just kind of put a face to the name, right? Like, I feel like on Facebook, I chat with these people every day, every other day. I even have their profile pictures seared in my head. And then you meet them in person. It's like, oh, yeah, like you're Alex. Oh, you're Matt, right? Like, it's kind of cool. Finally meet in person. So yeah, I would say like that was definitely the highlight of my national as well. Did you go to like any of the trade night events?
I wanted to go to that Thursday trade night event, and I saw the line, and it was just nuts. It was bonkers. And so I ended up just bagging that and going back and getting some food. And I ended up watching that Derek Jeter documentary. I just binge watched it. Yeah. Like, I'm a big basketball guy, but I just had it on while I was eating my food, and I was like, damn, this is really good. It's kind of like a baseball version of The Last Dance, and so I kept watching that, but I did not get to that trade night. I went to that VIP party with you that first night on Wednesday, which was really cool. Got to meet a lot of my good friends in the hobby, Jake from 90 B-Ball Cards, and Rodman, and Cage, and Andrew, and yourself, and just a bunch of other guys at that party. So that was really fun. I saw Ezra from Collectible, who I've gotten to be friends with, but not in person. I finally got to meet him in person, but and then Friday night, I crashed, man. Friday night, I crashed. A couple of my buddies tried to get me to go eat dinner with them at like 11 o'clock over at the Borgata. And I was like, man, there's no way. I'm going to wake up early in the morning. I got to get in an Uber and get to Philadelphia. And so I was pretty lame. I was not the party animal up in Atlantic City. So I kind of got my business done at the show and did my deal and just kind of chilled. I tell you what I did enjoy is when we got back to the Claridge. You stayed at the Claridge, right?
I did, yes.
Yeah. Did you see the trade shows going on that mezzanine level that connects to Bally's?
It was really cool. In the hallway. Yeah, and that like really.
Bro, how many people were in there with cards? I bet you there was 2,000 cards laid out. I bet you there was 50 people laid out with cards in there. That was really cool. I've never seen anything like that. This is all new to me. So to walk through, and I would walk up to each person, see what they have, and just kind of make chit chat. And a lot of people recognize me, and I got a chance to talk to them and share some cool stories with those guys. But it was really cool. A lot of young people, which was really refreshing, to see that the next generation's coming through. And it was really like, those trade nights are really people just practicing to become dealers. That's really all that is. You lay your wares out and you buy them, you sell them, you trade them, and you make deals. It's no different than what dealers do. They just do it on a little bit of a higher level, a little bit higher volume.
Yeah, I've never thought about it that way, Brian, but I feel like that's definitely true. It's like you kind of start small at the trade night, at least in my experience, right? And then it's like, okay, like once you have more confidence, once you have more money to work with, then you're okay, I'm gonna invest in a table, right? And then I'm gonna invest in multiple tables, right? Then I'm gonna start buying out tables, right? But yeah, like I went to the trade night as well. And like I went to the one on Saturday night held in the convention center. Like that one was crazy. Yeah. I'd never, I'd gone to the national for the past 2 years in Atlantic City. Chicago. Yeah. And like those trade nights, they were big, not nearly as big as this one.
Really?
So that was pretty crazy for me. But yeah, overall, like I would like walk through the hallway from like Bally's to the Claridge every single night, and every night, it would be packed. Yeah, the hallways would smell questionable. A lot of people there, a lot of cards.
After being on their feet for 10 hours, they're all there sweating on each other and lathering each other up. It's disgusting, but the cards are there, and
the cards are there.
You nose and you look at the cards, right?
Exactly. So yeah, that was a really cool experience to kind of see everything. Cool. So I guess we should have covered this a little bit earlier, but also for those who don't know you, if you maybe give a little bit of background of your history in the hobby. Also curious to know where you got that name Cajun Cardboard from. That's a interesting design you have in the back of your head.
well, first, there you go. That's my brand right there. That's my logo. It's got the 86 Fleer design, because that's kind of the first real big push I made in the hobby was to collect 86 Fleer and put those sets together. And so that was my initial passion in the hobby, and I just think it's an iconic set. So I like to have that border around my logo, which is just kind of ties it all together. But I'm a real estate attorney in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'm 48 years old. I'm married 25 years, got 7 kids. I can't get any of them to collect cards, even though I'm trying. I think I got my youngest 2 collecting soccer cards now. So, but I am a 99.9% basketball card collector. Collected baseball as a kid, in the 80s in my, middle school years. And then collected all the way into high school. I did not buy 86 Fleer in 1986. I don't know why. I was trying to get the Canseco rookie instead of buying the Jordan rookie, but I was. And then I took a decade off. So from 1990 till about 1998, I didn't collect cards at all. I went to college, met my wife, started working, then went to law school. And in law school, a really good friend of mine reintroduced me to the hobby in this product called Topps Chrome. And I fell in love with it. And so we would hit every single retail department store and sporting goods store we could find and buy all the Topps Chrome retail. We would go to all the hobby shops and buy all the Topps Chrome hobby we could find. And I fell in love with it again, collected all the way through 2004. And then again, moved back, lived in Houston, moved back to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and took another decade off, came back in around 2016. Okay, so now I've taken pretty much 2 decades off. And then 2016, Giannis brought me back in the hobby. The Bucks were my favorite team. I picked Giannis on my fantasy team. I saw Giannis at a very early age and thought very highly of him, and decided to look into his basketball cards and just started buying, Raymond. And I just kept buying and buying and buying and buying and buying in about 2015, 16, and just didn't stop. And he's what got me back into it. And obviously that turned into a great investment, which created a bunch of seed money. And then I just rinsed and repeated. I did the same thing with Ben Simmons, did the same thing with De'Aaron Fox, did the same thing with Jaylen Brown, did the same thing with Doncic, and now I'm, we kind of pick 1 or 2 players a year and did that prospecting stuff. And then, at some point I decided to start hedging my risk and look at some things that are a little bit more risk averse, long-term type stuff. And so that's when I pushed into the 1986 Fleer sets and put together 3 PSA 8 sets with stickers, 2 PSA 9 sets with stickers, and then I put the PSA 10 set with stickers together, which was kind of my crowning achievement in the hobby. That's probably the best thing I've ever done in the hobby. And I have since sold that 86 Fleer set. And then I've taken that money and just poured it into Jordan, man. I mean, if I had to summarize my purpose in this hobby, I always tell people all paths lead back to Jordan cards. And so everything is kind of an investment here and there, except for the Jordan stuff. That's what I put in my PC, and that's what I intend to keep for what I call Cajun eternity, which is a long time. So Jordan over everything in this hobby for me. Jordan over everything.
That I've heard that one time. I've heard it multiple times. Yeah, that seems to ring true for a lot of collectors. What is your favorite Jordan card in your PC, and why is it your favorite?
I got a PMG Red BGS 8. So that's my favorite. That's the big boy, right? So if I had to rank the 3 favorites, it would be, my PMG Red BGS 8, and then I've got a Championship PMG PSA 8, and then I kept my 1986 Fleer rookie PSA 10. I kept that when I did my set break, and I sold, I sold every other card except for the Jordan sticker PSA 10 and the base PSA 10. So those 3 Jordan cards kind of form the foundation. That's kind of my foundation. You know what I mean? That's kind of the slab that my entire collection rests upon, those 3 cards pretty much. And then I've got some other cool Jordan cards mixed in there too, but those 3 are kind of head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, they're definitely, especially the PMG Red, they're definitely above what most collectors would consider very high-end Jordan cards. What drew you to the PMG Red?
I don't know. There was something about it. Like, you see these lists all over the place. Well, first of all, the green's unreachable, right? It's unattainable. So you could scratch the green off the list. But, the red is a great consolation prize because it's a color match. And, and I fell in love with it, man. I've got it pulled up on the screen next to me. You can't see it, but I'm looking at it, and it's just something about, the precious metal gems set, the story behind it, that they're serial numbered parallels. The cards in and of themselves aren't the most beautiful cards. There's better looking Panini Prism cards out there, to be quite honest with you, inserts and whatnot. But there's just something about this card that just screams, iconic to me. And it was the first really high-end Jordan card that I said, I have to get that card. That's the one card I'm going to work my way up to and sacrifice and consolidate and kind of color up and make some sacrifices to consolidate to be able to go chase it. And it's turned out to be a good investment, but again, it ain't really an investment because it's sitting there for a very long time. I mean, that's going to be number 1 on my list for probably a really long time. Everything else just kind of falls right underneath that one.
Right. Yeah. It's probably going to be, it's your most solid investment. It's probably going to be the last card that you ever sell if you ever decide to sell it. Right.
100%. That's the last card I would let go of. Yep.
Yeah. I think what I really like about that card is the fact that the ball is a fireball. I guess it's even true in the base versions, but it's even more pronounced on the red PMG version. It just looks so intense. And it just, it's there's so much color. There's so much color on it.
Yeah, it's a bright red. For those of you who've never held one or seen one, I mean, it's an eye-popping red, super, super red, super vibrant. And honestly, man, Raymond, it's not the weirdest. I mean, they've got some really weird PMGs with airplane propellers and mechanical claws and just little animals in the background. I mean, I don't know what those people were thinking when they put that parallel set together, because it's got some wild stuff in there. The Jordan's actually pretty reserved compared to those other ones. It's got some ghost Jordans behind it, kind of trailing silhouettes of Jordan behind him, and then it looks like his hand's kind of missing, and he's laying the ball in for a layup with his right hand. His tongue's out. I mean, what better shot at Jordan than him shooting the ball and laying it in with his tongue out, man? That's just classic Jordan.
Yeah, certainly an iconic card. I've never seen one in person before, but I've seen multiple photos of it online, the green and the red ones, and it's very, very beautiful. Maybe one day we'll be talking, you'll have the green one, and then you'll be like, oh, I thought it was out of reach, but here we are. we have it in our fault.
A lot of things would have to happen for me to get that green one. I would need to get consent from a female that shares my last name before I would ever even consider making a move to get that green Jordan. But it's funny.
It's funny. Do you collect Jordan inserts?
Big time. Yeah, that's my primary focus. So Jordan inserts from the 90s. The PMG's a parallel, right? But primarily I'm an insert collector from the 90s. I do pick up some parallels like the PMGs, and then a couple refractors. I actually just picked up a refractor the other day. So, but primarily I look to pick up the tough pack odds inserts, but I'll go pick up little baby Jordans too. I mean, I just love collecting any cards that I don't have, and just kind of, I'm kind of a hoarder. So I'm looking here at my screen. I think I have 297 slab Jordans sitting in my PWCC vault. So that just goes to show you I'm not good at target focused collecting. I'm like a tumbleweed, man. If I see a Jordan card and I like the look of it, I'll do my research and make sure I don't overpay for it. But, I've picked up $60 Jordan PSA 10s, little baby Jordans. And sometimes those are the most fun. Just pick up 3 or 4 of those. It's really fun. It's a great part of the hobby. So high end to low end, anything Jordan, I'm always looking at it. Preferably playing years. I don't mind the Wizards playing years Jordans. I'm one of the few people that, most people are like Bulls or nothing. I like some of the Topps Chrome, Topps Pristine Wizard stuff. I really like it, and I think it's certainly more affordable than the Bulls stuff. But that's some low pop stuff. People are kind of sleeping on those, Topps Chrome inserts and Topps Pristine and some of the refractors from his Wizards years. People are sleeping on those. Those are pretty low pop cards. Again, it's not a Bulls uniform, so that's part of the reason. But I don't mind touching those too. But primarily playing year stuff. Yeah.
Primarily playing year stuff. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think do you collect exquisite Jordans, like exquisite base, kind of like those patch auto cards?
Not
Zero.
One. I don't.
Why
I
is
own
that?
A single exquisite card, and I'm jealous every time I see one. I wish I did, but I don't. It's not my niche, right? I don't have an expertise in it. I haven't put the time in to understand it. Yeah. Jordan autographs, I have 2 of them. I mean, I have almost 300 Jordan cards. 2 of them are autographs. That's it. And I have 0 Jordan patch cards, 0 Jordan memorabilia cards, and 2 autographs. So I am truly primarily a 90s insert and parallel collector.
90s. Got it. Yeah, I love 90s inserts too. It's one thing that I love kind of seeing the really, almost like some of the designs are they're so cool that they're cheesy. They're so cheesy that they're cool, right? It's not something that would fly in 2020, but I love the retro feel of them. It's okay, back when they were printed, these were so sick. What is your favorite insert, both that is in your collection and not in your collection? Which one do you think objectively just has the coolest design?
My favorite insert, just purely design, just straight up aesthetics. How does this card look? Is the Warp Speed. I like the 95 Stadium Club Warp Speed. That card to me is absolutely beautiful. I think it is the perfection. It is the best looking insert in my opinion. It's not the most valuable, but it is absolute perfection when you look at it. The one, it's not an insert, but the one parallel that I've targeted next, well, there's 2 of them really, is the 98 PMG, which is a monster. So it's going to take some doing. And then then I need a Jambalaya. But I'm not, I'm looking for not to sound like a grade snob, but I'm looking for a 9.5. That's kind of the sweet spot for me. So again, that's going to be a pain in the ass. It costs some money, but I got to move some stuff around to make it happen. But those are the 2 really, the 98 PMG and then the Jambalaya.
Yeah, I think Jambalaya is definitely I honestly I don't think it gets as much love as it should. It's such a beautiful looking card. It's such a tough grade. It's just so iconic.
It is certainly, if you see it one time, you'll never forget it. It's one of those, you know what I mean? You won't confuse it with any other insert. It doesn't look like any other insert out there. And so it's unique in its own way. And I've kind of put it off too long. I lost an auction about 2 years ago by $100 for a BGS 9.5, and I'm kicking myself that I didn't just go ahead and chase that thing. It would have been a much better financial decision to fork over a few extra $1,000 to win that card, and I did not do it. So I'll never forget that auction, especially now that the prices have kind of run up on me a little bit on that Jambalaya card,
Yeah, it's a little bit, it'll cost arm and leg to get back. I also realize that it's very on brand with the Cajun cardboard theme. So
Jambalaya, baby, yeah. How can a Cajun cardboard not have Jambalaya? Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's unforgivable. So I got to fix this, man. Yeah, I got to fix this. So hopefully somebody out there watching's got a 9.5 and they'll sell me for 50%. What do you think?
50% over market, guys.
Over market, yeah, that's what I meant.
50% over market. Yeah, I think, I guess, what are your thoughts on the 03 Jambalaya set? I guess Jordan's not in that one, but like, I guess, what are your general thoughts on that versus what is like 06 and then 97? Probably 97, right? Yeah.
So I personally don't know anything about it. So like if it's not a Jordan card from the 90s, I mean, I know it exists, and I know there's an 03. I know there's 03 and 06. There's a couple. Is there another year? I see them.
03, 06, and 97.
There you go. Yeah. So 03, 06, I don't know anything about. I know the LeBron is like a legit Jambalaya card, but then when you see the Jordans and stuff like that, those are theoretically, I guess, technically retro cards. I had to draw the line somewhere. And so that's why I don't collect autos. I don't collect patches. I don't collect any Jordan retro stuff. I think it's great looking. I just had to draw the line somewhere, man. It's like there's so many Jordans out there and so many directions. I did an awesome YouTube video with 23 different ways you can collect Jordan. And it's like, you can collect his Carolina stuff. You can collect his autos. You can collect his base cards. You can collect his, you can collect it in PSA 8 only, where it's very affordable and you can really spread your wings. You can collect his retro stuff. You can collect, refractors only. You can collect inserts only. You can collect star only. I mean, there's literally, Raymond, for anybody who wants to get into the Jordan market that's kind of overwhelmed and intimidated. And that's why I put it off for 2 years. You can just pick one path, just pick one niche within that world, and you can have like a world within a world, and just focus on that little niche and master that, and then move on to the next thing. So one step at a time, one little niche at a time, I think is the way to attack it. Because if you do try to understand, the first thing that I'll admit is if somebody asks me a question about a facet of a Michael Jordan, of the collecting world that I don't understand, I tell them I have no clue what you're talking about. I don't try to guess. I know people who are really intelligent that I can ask the question to and get your answer, but I don't ever just kind of BS people and start talking about Jordan autos. I wouldn't know a fake from a real Jordan autograph if it slapped me in the face. It's just not what I do. It's not my area of expertise. So I think that's the way for newcomers to get into the market, is just pick one pathway within the Jordan market and kind of focus on that one, whatever you like the most,
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think like, when you pick like one specific niche versus like going for everything, it becomes less intimidating.
Yep.
Let's face it, like cards are hard to manage, right? That's probably why you store a lot of cards at PWCC. I think kind of like starting with a much more manageable chunk is definitely the way to go. I think kind of like taking a step back, I think like my personal favorite insert is the Playmakers Theater. I don't know if you ever held one in hand, but like those cards, on a scan, they don't look, that cool, but in hand, the texture is just
gotta
amazing.
Have it in hand. Yeah.
It's embossed. It has like, it's very textured. It looks like it's such a beautiful card.
It's way up there, man. It's way up there on the list. I mean, that's a monster you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not a the serial numbering is the same numbering as the PMG, right? It's at 100.
Yeah, that's a big boy. That's a big boy card right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it makes you wonder like why the value difference is so big. Like, like that card in PSA 10 is probably in the range of like 300 to 400K, but at PMG, and that even the low grade, since high grades are like impossible, is multiples above that. So that's something I've been thinking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting illogical disparities in value. It's not just in the Jordan world. I mean, look, man, let's go look at some of these quarterbacks and stuff, and you can find really strange anomalies in supply and demand, or serial numbered cards that don't make a lot of sense, and that's part of the fun of being the investor side of me and the investor side of you. Your brain immediately went to, wait a second, Playmakers Theater is serial number to 100. PMGs is serial number to 100, but really they're 90. Why is this so much difference in value? You know, those are the kind of questions that as investors within the hobby, we always got to constantly ask ourselves, because sometimes those things do correct themselves and people do catch on. You know, I mean, hell, it happened with gold prism cards, right? I mean, how much were gold prism cards worth 5 years ago? And now it's like gold is literally gold. I mean, gold prism cards are absolutely on fire, almost completely unaffordable, you know, for certain players. So, you know, at some point, logic catches up, but sometimes this hobby tends to run away from logic at first, and then they kind of figure it out just in general.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, they assume like, oh, like, you know, like people kind of like look at like, you know, the price multiples between like different cards. They try to apply like stock market science to like the card market. And like so far in my years in the hobby, I haven't seen it correct itself in that way. I don't think moving forward it will. I think, you know, people, they collect the cards because they love them, right? And like that, you know, that emotion drives the price, not logic.
That's right.
Cool. Yeah. So the Playmakers Theater, Platinum Portraits. Like? I really like the Platinum Portraits card. I'm like, I think if you were to kind of like say like what's the most iconic, it's probably not the most iconic Jordan, but I think it's like probably the coolest Jordan insert.
Yep, with the die punch hole cuts. Yep, I got that pulled up on my screen. Yep,
especially you have one.
Yeah, I got a 9.5. It's a good one. Yep.
Oh well, it's my birthday in 6 months, so I'll shoot you my address after.
How about I give it to you on your 70th when I'm dead?
Oh yeah, that works too. I'm a patient guy.
Yeah, the Platinum Portraits is beautiful, man. Yeah, I mean, look, man, the list is crazy. I mean, you can start all the way back from the very early years in the 90s and talk about the Scoring Kings, which is, you know, probably, you know, if somebody said, hey, I want to get into the 90s Jordan insert world, what's the foundation? What's the base one? What's the number one card that I have to check off my list and put in my collection? I would probably tell somebody to start with, you know, a Scoring Kings in some grade, whether it's, you know, even if it's a raw one or a PSA 7 or whatever. I would probably tell them to start with the Scoring Kings and kind of go from there, or Beam Team, you know, the 92 Beam Team. Those are the two foundational Jordan inserts, you know, from my perspective. Those were the first two that I thought I needed to put in my collection. So, and you know, and I still have them to this day. You know, I love those two cards. Those two cards are fantastic. They're not the rarest cards in the world by any stretch, and they're not crazy low pop either, even in PSA 10 or BGS 9.5. But I think if you collect Jordan 90s inserts, you gotta have those two cards. You just have to have those two cards.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful card, especially the Scoring Kings. Actually, which Scoring Kings are you referring to? Is it the one with the lightning, or is it the red one?
The one with the lightning, the 93. Yeah, that's the original. Yep, the 93 is the original. The other, you're thinking of the yeah. Well, they got a couple other Scoring Kings. Yeah, so they got the Scoring Kings Plus and
Scoring Kings Plus. Yeah, I think the red one, like the one with his, I believe his tongue is sticking out. It's like a kind of like almost like PMG, like, right? Like it's red, but it's not shiny. He's wearing a red Bulls uniform. His tongue is out. He's like, you know, going in for layup. Like, I think that card like doesn't really get enough love. Like I get lightning bolts. Thunder, like that's undoubtedly like a sick card, but like I think the Scoring Kings, the red version, you know, I look at it, I'm like, that card looks really cool to me, really cool to me as well. Scoring Kings. I actually saw a photo of a Scoring Kings buyback. It was Michael Jordan signed it with autographed with the
unbelievable
silver pen.
Like
that
silver,
part is beautiful.
Bright silver. Yeah, man. Come on. That was, when I saw that, I think, I don't want to guess, but I think Naz might have picked that up. You know Naz? You know the Candyman Naz?
Oh, really? Last I know that Nick owned it, but maybe Naz bought it.
I don't want to guess. I don't know why. I thought I have a vague memory, but I'm getting old, so maybe it wasn't Naz. But man, when I saw that, that's a card you don't forget. Yeah, with that real bright silver Sharpie on there. Yeah, that was a beautiful card, man. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the silver ink would have changed your perspective on collecting autos, because I do think like the you know, the blue black autos, like they do get a little bit dull, and once you've kind of seen one, it's like, okay, like there's not too many, especially like,
and red. They got some red pen autos out there too, which are very unique. You know,
they got some red pen autos. I've never noticed that.
I think I've seen a couple red pen auto Jordans too, but like I said, that's not my niche, so I'm not going to get it. I'm just worried about reels and fakes. I mean, there's so many fake inserts. There's so many fake parallels, there's fake autos galore. It's really scary. It's almost to the point where if you're buying a big card, you almost need to research it and run it past a committee to make sure that other people put eyes on it, especially some of these serial numbered inserts from the 90s, you know, the legacy collections and some of those cards and some of the credentials and all that. Those are heavily faked. And so, you know, having some serious experts in the hobby put eyes on those is crucial before you click the buy button or go ahead and put a bid on a card like that. I always do. I always run it past guys that are a lot smarter than me before I chase cards that I'm not super familiar with, you know. So.
Right. Yeah. The idea of fakes is like has always been like really, really interesting to me. In your experience, like what have been the most faked inserts?
I mean, I'd have to say it's a big men on court.
Big men on court.
The die cut big men on court, especially the Z-Peats. You know, a big influx of those came in and they all got through BGS and some of them got through PSA. I'm trying to pull it up so I can, you know, talk about it. I know I got it somewhere in here. Somewhere at page 2. You know, I don't know if you've seen it. You know, it's got big men on court and big letters behind it. It's got Jordan, his white uniform, and it's very intricately die cut. I'm still looking for it. I don't see it. Oh, here it is. 96 Skybox Z Force big men on court. There's a big men on court, and they call it BMOC because it's easier to say. Yep. And then they have a BMOC Z-Peat as well, which is kind of a parallel, which is even more rare. And so those Z-Peats, somebody manufactured a whole bunch of fake ones, submitted them all to Beckett at the same time, and all of them got through. Well, somebody picked up on it. Now people are, you know, pretty proficient at spotting what's real, what's fake, depending on the curvature of the die cut sides. And then they've even listed, I think on Blowout, you know, forums, you can go on there and they'll list serial numbers. And if you've got one of those serial numbers, it's fake. And so, you know, that's just the hobby, you know, policing and looking out for other hobbyists, you know, and it's really good to see. But, you know, I feel for all the people that have picked up those fake ones. I think that's the most fake card in the world is clearly the 86 Fleer. Obviously, it's not even close.
Yeah.
And then I would say that the legacy collections are dangerous. You know, some of the credentials are dangerous. The big man on court for sure. I'm trying to think of some other fake ones. There's a lot of fake autographs out there. There's a lot of patch swap issues, you know, where people are swapping out patches, which is, I'm impressed by the criminals who could swap out patches and even put the card back together. Like, I don't know how you could switch a patch out, but they do it and it looks like it was never done. And so that's really scary too, because you're talking about, I mean, some of these are, you know, easy 5 figures. Some of these are 6-figure cards. And if you've purchased one of those cards and you don't have the real one, good luck, you know, chasing that back down and getting that money back. It's hard to put it back in once it's gone out. It's hard to get that money back.
Yeah, I think there's certainly something to be said about kind of keeping tighter track of the provenance of certain cards in the hobby, right? Like as they go from like buyer to seller, seller to buyer, you know, making sure it's in fact the same copy. I did hear from a friend that all of these exquisite cards, if you take the patch out, there's a phone number in the back that you can dial to confirm the legitimacy of the patch. I haven't tried it yet, but you know, anyone who's listening, you know, if you want to blow like 100
out to see the phone number.
Yeah, it's kind of pointless, but apparently
I'll pass on that.
I'll buy a $50 exquisite card and rip out the
I'll
patch.
let you try it. I'll let you try it. You tell me how that goes. I'll keep my Jordan patch in my exquisite if I ever get one. Yeah, you know, it's a scary part of the hobby. And, you know, I think that's one of the unseen reasons that I think PSA cards sell for a premium. It's not just people like PSA. They got the buyback guarantee, you know, and I know they've kind of modified what they will and won't buy back or how much they'll pay. But I have heard on multiple occasions of, you know, PSA buying back fakes that are in legitimate, authentic PSA slabs. Now, there's also fake slabs. That's a whole nother problem within the hobby, right? Is fake slabs. Right. But if it's in an authentic and PSA graded a fake and deemed it authentic, PSA is going to give you some money for that card. You know, coming to terms with them on what the value of what the real card would be worth is, you know, another story. But, you know, that's a big reason why PSA slabs carry a premium in the hobby, especially with 90s cards. You know, it's because they'll, you know, you can feel a little bit more of a sense of comfort than you've got an authentic one in that PSA slab. Right. Yeah. I've never really thought about it from that perspective. Yeah, but I have noticed, like, ever since PSA has been, like, you know, more on top of the authenticity guarantee, you know, like, that might explain kind of the price difference between like PSA and BGS. Like I have heard on the other side of the spectrum that
BGS, they won't guarantee the authenticity of those slabs, right? Like they won't pay the insurance, they won't buy it out. But it also makes sense now that they don't upcharge, right? Like the reason why PSA has such a high upcharge is so that they can insure in case that happens, right? So
sure. There's an insurance. It's basically insurance. So they're charging a premium so that when they do have to make right on one of these basically insurance claims where they buy back a fake one, they've got, the float and they've got the money. I think they have more than enough to buy them back. I don't think it's happened enough to justify how much cards cost to grade, but you play the game. If the secondary market, I've never, I hear people, do you hear people complain about getting upcharged? I've never complained about getting upcharged. That means a card graded way better than I thought it would, and it's worth way more than I ever thought it would be. And certainly it's going to be worth more than your upcharge amount. I don't understand why people complain about upcharges. I wish they would upcharge me on every card. That means I got all PSA 10s,
Right. Yeah. I think it's just mainly people who have been in the game for a long time, before they were that certain upcharging. They kind of see the upcharging and it wasn't like this in the 1980s. It wasn't like this in the 1990s.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the reason why. I guess going back to your Jordan collection, what is one insert that that was the hardest to chase and the sweetest win for you when you finally got? Was there one card where you're kind of searched?
Yeah, I'm
far and
scrolling
wide
here.
for.
I'm scrolling, looking at my screen. There's some I don't have that I need. So, like I said, I try to get them as high a grade possible. So sometimes I'll have a placeholder that's in a PSA 8 or a BGS 8.5 or a PSA 9 or whatever. A couple of them, let me see. I've got them pulled up on my screen here. One that I'm really proud of is I have a Living Legends PSA 10, which is one of Jordan's earliest inserts. It's from 1993 Fleer. It is not a rare card. I think they were inserted 1 in every 6 packs, and there's only 6 players in the set. It's Jordan Bird, Ewing, Olajuwon, Dominique. There's one more. I can't remember who it is. But there's, I think, 6 players in the set, and they're 1 in 6 packs, which means you get a Jordan 1 in 36 packs. That's not very many packs. That's easy pack odds, but the card is black everywhere. All 8 edges and all 8 corners, all black, and impossibly condition sensitive and very difficult to get in a 10. I was really happy that I picked that one up real early when I got into the Jordan game. Raymond, I tried to start chronologically and start with 92, 93, 94 stuff. And kind of work my way up. And of course that went out the window. I started just buying whatever I could get because, beggars can't be choosers. If a card comes up and you're not going to see it again, you kind of try to get it. But that 93 Fleer Living Legends card, if people watch and aren't familiar with it, go Google it, go pull it up on Card Ladder or whatever data pricing tool you use. It's a really simple card. It just features Jordan in his red uniform and it's black everywhere. It's got some gold foil writing on it. It's a really cool looking card. Yeah, I've got to pull it up on the screen. It's a good looking card. Very simple card. Not hard to get the card, but very hard to get the card in a PSA 10. Very hard.
93 Living Legends. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Look at it backwards.
Yeah, from that photo, easy Fleer, from the Fleer base set. Just a simple set, 93, just early Jordan insert card. Easy.
Yeah, I think there's something really cool about, it's a very common card, but you really got the best of the best there, right?
Yeah.
I think that's really, really awesome. And just kind of seeing something that's so conditionally sensitive, have such a nice tough grade. I think that is a great feeling to have. Kind of reminds me of what is it? There's that record player card of
record collection. Yeah.
Record collection. That card is, I think it's a pop 13 or 14, but it's not a rare card. But in a PSA 10, pop 13 or 14, and it looks really, really cool.
I got that PSA 10 too.
Yep. Okay, so there's one fewer out there.
You may be right, but I think it's pop 11. Yeah,
something like that. It was pretty low, but it's a common card. But I think that card in PSA 10 is just so satisfying. And then you're
right. Pop 14. Pop 14.
Pop 14. Something like that. Yeah. That's one thing that one of the cards I'm okay, if it pops up and it's a reasonable price, I'm gonna grab it.
The cool card.
It looks really, really cool. Yeah.
You know what I saw the other day, and I can't remember if I saw it on Instagram or Facebook, but somebody had the whole set, and they weren't all PSA 10s, but they put the set together and they laid it out. It looked really cool. It looked really, really good. Just with the red record, it was like red record, all black backgrounds. It looked really good with all the players laid out, and they were all in PSA slabs. I don't think they were all the same grade, but it was just beautiful to look at. I love seeing people collect 90s insert sets. It's beautiful. You know, most of them are 20 cards or less. Most of them are probably 10 to 15, but some of them get all the way up to 20. But seeing people collect those insert sets gives me great joy because I love collecting sets. I've always been a set collector. And I think that if there's a play in this market right now, especially while the market's dipped a little bit, it's all of these first ballot Hall of Famers, the Olajuwons, the Jason Kidds, the Gary Paytons, and the Stocktons, and the Malones, and the Ewings. Their cards in all of these 90s insert sets, they seem too cheap, man. They seem too cheap. And there's not a lot of high grade ones out there because they're so cheap, nobody's ever graded them. And I think there's starting to be a little momentum building where people are like, wait a second, I like this Jordan, linchpins card. Who else is in that set? Maybe I can go buy, not necessarily the Kobe because he's also very expensive, but maybe I'll buy the Shaq. Maybe I'll buy the, Grant Hill or the Penny Hardaway in a certain insert set. So everybody sees the Jordans, everybody sees the Kobes, but people don't see the Keith Van Horns and the Sean Kemps and the, guys like that. And I think those cards, there's some potential there for savvy investors to identify raw cards that might grade well and buy those raw and get them graded and then sell them, because I think set collecting those insert sets is starting to become a little bit more popular. I'm not really doing it very much. I did it in one set. The Scoring King set's the only one I've done it, but I think that's going to catch on at some point. I think people are really going to start to look back and fall in love with these 90 cards, even more than I already have. So that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, I feel like that was not really something I considered. It's like, okay, like now as these cards become more affordable, right, you kind of go towards you can truly buy like what you like what you think is beautiful, what you like, right? And then kind of you can kind of collect based on like true passion, right? Instead of like things from like an investment perspective, like, oh, like what do you think will go up the most, right? Because like now it's a much lighter financial decision.
Well, when cards have gone down so much, the downward risk is just so much less, right? I mean, if you're buying a card for $80, what's the most you can lose? $80? Okay, that's fine. I'll take those chances. But when it's $280, well, now it matters a lot more. If you lose $280 10 times, now it's a lot of money. So, I'll tell you, man, I'll be honest with you. I've never had as much fun as I've had in this hobby over the last 12 to 15 months. And it's been devastating to the value of my collection. My collection value has gone down. Like I would assume most of us have experienced the same thing. But I've never had more fun because I'm getting to buy cards I never thought I'd have a chance to buy again. And I'm getting to buy Jordans and grades I never thought I'd be able to afford again, because all we saw for about 3 years was up. And you just assumed if you missed it, you missed it forever. But that's not the case. We're getting to look at some cards and put them in our collection that we didn't think we would, if you asked me a year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah.
A year and a half, 2 years ago, everything was just, looked like it was going on a rocket. Now things are becoming more realistic. You can, I feel like it's a win-win situation where either, your cards increase in value. Okay, that's great. Or they go down and you can really truly collect what you like for a very reasonable price, right? And then truly enjoy the hobby for what it is. I felt like you shared a lot of very interesting perspectives in today's episode, and we're getting close on time. But for those who don't know you, how can people find you?
I'm easy. I'm Cajun Cardboard on Facebook. I'm Cajun Cardboard on Instagram. And I have a YouTube channel that if you're a collector or an investor, you'll like my channel. I cater to investors and collectors because I am one. I'm a hybrid. I'm not one of those collectors that calls investors bad names. And I'm not one of those investors that thinks all these collectors are just old men who are just stubborn. I do both. And I love it, man. I love making money on cards and flips. But I also love putting cards in my collection that I'm going to put away and appreciate and not even care about how much they're worth. So I consider myself a hybrid. And I think, honestly, Raymond, if we look in the mirror, I think most of us truly do care about whether our cards go up or down in value long term. So anybody out there who says, well, I'm a true collector, I don't care if my cards go to zero, I don't buy it. I don't believe that. I think a lot of people say it. I think they're BSing, man. I just don't believe that. So my YouTube channel focuses on, investing moves. I'll show you my mail days, the types of cards that I buy. Sometimes I buy, I'll have a mail day and I'll have a $40,000 card, but on the same mail day, I'll have a $24 card. And so that just shows you how I'm all over the place, man. I'm outside the box. I like to buy low and sell high, but I also like to buy big cards that you really don't see very often. And so my YouTube channel is Cajun Cardboard as well. So if you're looking for some good YouTube content, I got a long list of videos that you can go back and binge watch. But there's a heavy emphasis on Jordan on my channel specifically. So if you're a Jordan collector and you haven't checked out my channel yet, go check it out. I think you'd probably like it,
Awesome. Yeah. Cajun Cardboard on YouTube. I'm certainly going to go back and check that video about collecting Jordan in multiple ways. From what you described, it definitely seems like something up my alley. But yeah, take a look at Bryan's YouTube channel, and we'll have you on again.
I appreciate it, man. Anytime. Yeah, I'm literally at your service. Anytime you want to have me on, I can talk cards as long as you want. You just send me a message. I'm in.
We'll make it happen. Have it easy.
Thanks, Raymond. Bye-bye.